Portland, Oregon in the headlines for all the wrong reasons. We've got Chauncey Billups, head coach of Portland Trailblazers, a big FBI investigation, got arrested. We've got the ongoing deal at the ICE facility. You've just got conflict there. You've got arrests going on there every night. And then, top of all the homeless nonsense you got going on in Portland, you've got arsons taking place. You got 3 arsons inside of 2 years against Portland's politicians and police. What's the deal? Let's get into it. Here we go. Here's just last night. Arrests made as anti-ICE agitators caught on camera clashing with federal officers outside Portland facility. I also saw that the Antifa safe unit, safe home, where their leader typically takes people to do a number 2 because they're all, living on the streets, was basically had a whole bunch of conservatives go up to it. Hey, what are you guys doing in there? What's going on here? And also Antifa had to clear out their cache of supplies from the street, just down from the ICE facility. That whole thing, just send in the National Guard. End it now. Arrests of NBA's Terry Rozier, Chauncey Billups, latest chapter of gambling scandal in the sports world. Perfect. Portland Trailblazers. And then, as this is all going on, I want you to keep in mind, where is Governor Kotek's? Intense debate. Governor Tina Kotek heads Oregon delegation for trade mission to South Korea and Japan. So while all this is going on in her home turf, her home state, she's off to South Korea and Japan. And they're gonna do some trade mission things. Hey, what are you even doing there? All right, let's get into the first video. This is the one that happened this weekend. Another arson. Let's watch the video.
In the middle of the night, flames climbed the walls of Portland City Councilor Candace Avalos' home. Police say it was a suspicious fire that destroyed her car and also damaged part of her home. Welcome to KOIN 6 News. I'm Lisa Balick. In a statement from Councilor Avalos today, she says the fire is being investigated as a possible arson. Our 𝗣𝗥𝗘𝗠𝗜 is at the wreckage outside the home. Joey, fill us in. What have you learned?
Yeah, Lisa, the councilor's home sits in the middle of this complex here. This is private property, so we're out on the sidewalk, but you can see the carport in question where that fire started, severely damaged. There's some tape. It looks like some investigators are on scene right now. No arrests made yet, but investigators do believe this fire is suspicious in nature. This happened around 2:40 this morning. Portland Fire and Rescue crews responded to a scene where they found several cars and a carport on fire. All those cars were empty. Once they put the fire out, crews called for a fire investigator. Portland police officers also helped with the investigation. They found the vehicle of origin belonged to Councilor Candace Avalos. Councilor Avalos was not available to speak today, but did provide us a statement. She said she woke up late last night to find her car engulfed in flames, and she was able to get out safely with her cat. Now, she said her friends, neighbors, and loved ones are supporting her as she navigates what's next. In a joint statement, Mayor Wilson and other city councilors said they're working with Councilor Avalos to get her resources and security she needs. Excuse me. Now, this comes nearly 2 years after a suspected arson near then City Commissioner René Gonzalez's house, where a family car was torched in January 2024. In this case, Portland's Fire Investigation Unit is leading the investigation. The cause still unknown at this time, but if you have any information, you are asked to reach out to PFNR's tip line. That number's on our website, KOIN.com. Live in Southeast Portland, 𝗣𝗥𝗘𝗠𝗜, KOIN 6 News.
So is it coincidence that yet another one of Portland City Council members has had either their car or a family member's car at their residence where they live arsoned? Is that a coincidence? I don't think so. Is it just some random nut job coming off the streets from downtown Portland, working their way into the burbs where these folks live and lighting their cars on fire? Not likely, right? Is this political retribution for something that they voted on? I didn't come up with any stories along that line, and without knowing for sure if this is arson, but it sure looks like arson, and I'm going with arson when media says it's being investigated by fire department as arson. Because it's not like this individual was out there cooking marshmallows in her carport, right? Horrible. Lost her car, probably got damage to the interior of her unit. Just terrible. Got her cat out, but then she's essentially homeless at the moment till they do the investigation. I don't know what the damage was to the interior of the home, but it had to have had smoke damage of sorts, right? Just even going through the ventilation, because what I understood was that the flames were so high that neighbors for blocks around were able to see him. It was like 3 stories worth of flame. So just terrible. I'm glad she was okay. Glad the cat was okay. But this isn't the first one. This is also one here. Car parked in front of Portland Commissioner 𝗪𝗧𝗛𝗪𝗧 home set on fire. This is 𝗪𝗧𝗪𝗧. He's another Portland councilor. And this happened January of 2024, something like that, I think. Here we go.
Tonight, police are investigating an arson that happened just outside of Portland City Commissioner and mayoral candidate 𝗪𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗛𝗪𝗧's home.
It happened earlier today, and it has authorities on heightened alert. Fox 12's Anna Katayama has more on the story. Anna.
Yeah, Pete and Grill, is a pretty scary incident for the commissioner and his family. Happened about 1:30 this morning. Portland Fire and Rescue responded to a car fire in the Eastmoreland neighborhood. The car was parked and unoccupied. Firefighters put the fire out and nobody was injured. But police do believe that this fire was intentionally set. Officers say the white 2024 Honda Accord was parked on the street in front of Gonzalez's home. Commissioner Gonzalez says his wife saw the flames and alerted him that his parents' car was on fire. He says the incident has shaken up the family and convinced him that he needs to implement additional security at his home.
Or maybe move from Portland. I don't know. There seems to be a trend there, right? And I know a lot of people are considering that. But, this is, for a lot of folks in Portland, this has been their place. They've raised kids. They've, lived there for years and years and years. They're not going to give up the fight. But they also voted for the politicians that have put the policies in place that they are now suffering from. So, you gotta be able to take it both ways, but you don't want arson wished on anybody. That's just, you burned up my car. Ugh.
As we approach the November election, we'll need to reevaluate and double down on some of those. I won't necessarily get into all of them at this point, but now that my neighborhood's been impacted, my neighbors, potentially my children and my parents, we need to go back to being more steadfast in protecting their security.
So that car was destroyed by the fire. No arrests have been made, and right now, no suspect information is available. To make matters worse, Gonzalez says this isn't the first incidence of vandalism that he's dealt with since being elected. Multnomah County District Attorney Mike Schmidt released a statement today saying that everybody is free to agree or disagree with me, the commissioner, or any public servant or political candidate. But threats of vandalism, arson, violence, or any other form of illegal coercion will not be tolerated. If confirmed arson, we will find and prosecute those responsible for this act to the fullest extent of the law. Now, Commissioner Gonzalez says that each of...
As I remember, Mike Schmidt just kind of let everything go. I don't remember there being a lot of accountability. So many of these crimes that happen in the big blue cities, the story ends with, if you have any information, because currently there's no arrests, there's nobody that's been taken into custody. Year later, we're doing an update to the story because no arrests have been made and we don't really know. You just have that storyline over and over and over and over. Because you don't have enough cops, you don't have, you don't have the resources, you don't have the detectives to really go after this kind of thing. And everybody knows in these big blue liberal cities, they're going to be able to get away with it. Because even if they get popped, they get arrested, they're probably not going to get prosecuted, nor are they going to face any real time. There's no teeth to the justice system. So why not get out there, Tiger, and just, rob, arson, you name it. Do whatever you want. World's your oyster. Meanwhile, the politician's like, yeah, if we find somebody, we're going to prosecute him. And you're like, how's that working out?
His colleagues has reached out to him to offer their support, and he expressed gratitude today for that response. Of course, anybody with any information about the case is asked to contact Portland Police. In studio, Anna Katayama, Fox 12 Oregon.
Yeah, because that's going to go far. That is really going to go far. Let's watch this one. This is, I'm going to go like this on this one. This is PDX Real. She does like TikTok and Instagram, and I follow her stuff. I follow her stuff and Kevin Dahlgren all the time. And let's see what she has to say about this one. Here we go.
Terrifying scene early Sunday morning in Portland's Mill Park neighborhood. City Councilor Candace Avalos and her cat, Valentino, woke up to find their cars and carport engulfed in flames. Fire crews arrived around 2:40 a.m. and were able to contain the blaze before it spread further. Investigators say the fire started in one of Avalos's vehicles, and they're calling it suspicious. Thankfully, no one was injured, but the damage looks extensive. Portland Fire and Rescue and police are now investigating possible arson. And this isn't even the first time something like this has happened. Back in January 2024, another city commissioner, Renee Gonzalez, had his elderly parents' car set ablaze outside his Southeast Portland home. Then a few months later, in May 2024, an arsonist set at least 15 Portland police vehicles on fire, $400,000 in damage, and there's no suspects in either of those cases. All of this comes on the heels of city leaders insisting Portland doesn't have a violence problem, with the mayor even saying
the president will not find lawlessness or violence here.
I love that.
I don't know what happened here or who's responsible.
False. It's like, remember when Trump used to say, wrong? It's like, false. I saw this clip, I think yesterday, and I remember the false, and I'm like, that's a good one. That's wrong.
And I'm not going to assume, but 3 separate arson attacks tied to city officials and police in under 2 years. That's not normal, and it's a reminder that political violence, no matter who it's aimed at, crosses a line.
The group is now claiming responsibility for setting fire to at least 15 police cars at the Portland Police Bureau's training facility.
The group is saying it was a preemptive attack. Fox 12's Drew Reeves is in studio now with what we know about this group and why they say they did this. Drew?
Yeah, so this group is called Rachel Corrie's Ghost Brigade, and they claim that they set fire to the police cars because they knew officers were going to sweep the Portland State University library to clear out protesters who were occupying that building. The group posted their claims.
Remember that? They took over PSU, Portland State University, took over the library. I mean, they just basically assaulted the complex. Oregon officials were like, we just got to let them do whatever they want. They were pro-Palestinian people taking over a Portland State University library. Just absolutely. What is going on? What world are we living in? What third world country without law and order are we living in? Just let them take over. Should be fine. Well, this brigade is people who burned up the police officers' cars basically took control for that. Has there been any arrests? Doesn't sound like it.
On social media saying they cut through a fence at the training facility, and they say they set 10 fires, which then spread to 15 cars. The fires happened last week early in the morning on Thursday. It's the same morning that Portland police moved into Millar Library to clear out protesters at Portland State University. The fires were to the police training vehicles that are only used for training purposes. Police do say that after those fires, other neighboring agencies have offered their vehicles to the department to use. The self-proclaimed anarchist group claiming responsibility is named after Rachel Corrie. She was a 23-year-old activist from Olympia, Washington, and she died in 2003 when an Israeli bulldozer crushed her while she was trying to block it from demolishing Palestinian homes in Gaza. Rachel.
Sorry, what? Just like, you're out there with a bulldozer in Gaza. And you think that things are going to be like how they were in Olympia or Portland or wherever. And then all of a sudden you're just run over by a D8, right? I mean, it's like, what are you? You're in Gaza, you're being run over because you can't quite work out that, hey, maybe in Gaza things aren't going to go just like they do back in the good old US of A, back in Olympia, where they don't care if you are free Palestine. They don't really care. They're just like, well, we got one gear and it's forward and this young lady's here. Unfortunately, thump, thump. Uh-oh. Yep, somebody grabbed the body. And that's what they do. Meanwhile, her group is trying to take credit for these arsons and just outwardly come out and still no arrests made. I don't think there has been. But I mean, this is what you're dealing with in Portland. This is the kind of nut jobs you're dealing with. People that go over and get themselves killed in a foreign land because they don't quite understand. Maybe other people don't play by your stupid rules like Portland does.
Corey's Ghost Brigade says they are now calling for violent resistance against police and others. Portland police tell us that they are aware of the social media post by the group and are investigating. Reporting in studio, Drew Reeves. Good day, Oregon.
So last week we covered Oregon has the lowest mental health care coverage in the United States. State of Oregon has the least amount of health care for its constituents. But Portland has the second highest property crimes rates in the nation after Memphis. This article just came out October 22nd. It's 𝗪𝗏𝗪𝗧𝗛𝗏. She was a young lady that's down at the Portland Ice Complex, and somebody jammed a aluminum flagpole in her eye socket. She went and saw President Trump along with a number of other Pacific Northwest patriots that went there and talked to President Trump and Kristi Noem and Pam Bondi about what's going on in the Pacific Northwest. And 𝗪𝗏𝗪𝗧𝗛𝗏 points out here, city of Portland, Oregon has one of the nation's highest property crime rates, second only to Memphis. And remember, Memphis has already had the National Guard come in because you know what the mayor of Memphis said? Yeah, bring them on in. Could use the help. Things aren't so great here. We've got some issues. Come on in. And that's kind of a shocker from a city that's having some issues, but it's also a Republican-run state. Not sure what the mayor was. Most of the mayors of these big cities are Democrats, but when you're inside of a Republican-run state, oftentimes you make decisions that aren't just absolutely, numbnuts in nature. They aren't shenanigans like Portland does because, Governor Kotek is often wherever, Japan and Korea, doing some trade stuff. Instead, meanwhile, this is coming down. So to kind of put that in context, we're down here now. According to the FBI report, Portland recorded 5,526 property crimes per 100,000 people in 2024. 4,500 of those were for burglary. So that is people stealing stuff for their drug habit. Plain and simple. That's what that is. To compare, Memphis recorded 7,327 property crimes over 100,000 residents, making it the highest. President Trump already sent in National Guard to Memphis. So, Memphis has historically been a violent. It's been a violent city. I remember interviewing a young man for one of the positions here, and he had just moved from Memphis, and he was living in Northgate area of Seattle. And he was like, man, it is so safe here. And Northgate area, for those of us from Seattle, is not our safest neighborhood. It's sketchy. It's got Highway 99. You got a bunch of homeless people. You got a bunch of drugs. You got a bunch of stuff going on that's not, what I would consider safe. But this kid came here. He's like 30-something years old probably, came here and said, man, I feel comfortable walking around at night. It's fine here compared to Memphis. And I always remember that interview thinking, okay, note to self, Memphis got some issues. But with all of this going on, you've got this narrative from politicians, from the governor to city council members down to the mayor, that, hey, everything's fine. Nothing to see here. And I just walked you through some of the major not connected criminal activities going on and situations that Portland, Oregon, and Oregon itself has that, leadership is just basically, brushing off. It's fine. This is just what we're doing in Portland. It's good. It's all fine. It's good. There's nothing to see here because Trump keeps saying, hey, I'm going to send in the Guard. I don't think Trump will need to send in the Guard. I think if you have some big major flare up, maybe, but you know what? It just doesn't take much to basically put Antifa back in its place. And that's who's running this. Right? That's who's running the stuff down at, even though the left wants to say, Antifa is a myth. Antifa is running the protests against the Portland ICE facility. Make that make sense. Any of these big liberal states, big liberal sanctuary cities, states that want their law enforcement to not work with other law enforcement. Make that make sense. How does that make sense? You want your community to be less safe. You want to have the criminal illegals remain in your community. How does that work? What is your ideology when that's your thing? Oh, yeah, we do not support interaction with ICE here at all. And you're left with, okay, that is a numbnut move. That doesn't make any sense at all. But go ahead. If you want to be misguided about how public safety works, just keep doing what you're doing because, again, where's Portland in basically break-ins? Number 2 in the nation behind Memphis. And it doesn't have to be. Portland is just loaded with a whole bunch of white people that are unfortunately are on the streets doing drugs because politicians let them. And they, even though they get money, even though they get EBT cards and they can sell those, we've talked about that, trade your EBT card. They had a big scandal here in Seattle over that in the International District. Or you steal from your community and you've got these, open market drug areas where purchasing and sale of stolen goods is a known thing. You just go in there, take your stolen stuff. Somebody will buy it. You get your few nickels together and you go buy your drugs. That's what's going on here. And yet leadership in Portland, leadership in Oregon, literally, it's okay. In fact, everything's so good, we're going to head off to Korea and Japan. Where'd they get back from? Where was the homelessness trip that they took? These people are just off taking trips and you're like, stay home and get your work done at home. That's what I would say. But then again, I'm a Republican, so, you're not going to listen to anything going on in Portland from a Republican. And that's part of the problem. All right. That's it for me on this one. Thanks so much for being here. I'd love to have you subscribe, do all that good stuff. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.